Nearly 1 million people took the oath to become American citizens in 2024. That is according to U.S. Immigration and Citizenship Services.
It's not an easy process, and it takes a lot of time and a lot of money. Blake Showalter is live in the studio after spending the day learning how people are earning U.S. citizenship.
Jeff and Kathy, today I spoke to a local man who went through the process of becoming a U.S. citizen, and I spoke with an immigration attorney. They break down the real price of the American dream. Vaca-Diaz immigrated to the United States in 2004. He says it was a long process and took 5 years of extensive review by the U.S. government before officially becoming an American citizen.
You pay to the consulate, you pay the consulate a certain amount of money, a fixed amount of money to have an interview. Then you pay to have the review. I mean, everything is paying, you know? And even though that is not a guarantee that you will receive the visa.
Immigration lawyer Yolanda Mendoza says this is largely the most complex bureaucratic system that she has ever had to deal with in the United States.
You know, the agency itself is not equipped to handle all of these cases. We currently have, I think it's 122 million cases pending with immigration. Right? So think about how much that impacts someone's ability to be able to come in.
What does somebody need to immigrate to the United States, and how much would that usually cost?
There's many different ways to immigrate to the U.S. I'll start with what we do a lot here in office, which is a family-based petition. Okay, starting from step one. Step one, right? So you file the petition with USCIS. A family-based petition is generally $675. You're processing the immigrant visa from abroad. It's $445 for the visa application. On top of that, you're paying for attorney fees, which can be anywhere between $5,000 to $10,000. Employment visas are even more expensive. You're looking at about $10,000 to $20,000 investment.
Vaca-Diaz says he understands there needs to be procedures in place when bringing immigrants into the U.S., although he does think the process should be more direct.
If you're going to invite somebody to your birthday party or some event that is important to you, then you want the best people in there, right? And that's how I see it. I'm not against anybody, but I'm pro the law, and whatever it takes, it should be done. But I understand in the other hand also that it should be a little bit more comprehensive, more user-friendly.
Mendoza says some immigrants feel forced to immigrate illegally due to backlogs and statutory limitations on visa numbers.
They're forced to flee their countries because there's no other way. When you're, let's say, for example, you have a sibling abroad, it takes 17 to 25 years for your sibling to be able to immigrate legally.
Looking into some people that are from countries that are having hard times, can you understand, I guess, someone who wants to come into the country illegally, or someone who does come into the country illegally?
People that want to come to the country, I understand why they want to do it, but at the same time, I don't advise that because of the sufferings of coming here illegally. It is not just crossing the border and you will find a job or you're going to start sending money to your country.
And this is the goal for many. This was a few months ago when dozens of people pledged allegiance to the United States as they became naturalized citizens. In the studio, Blake Showalter, Heartland News.